What's your favorite thing about your uncle?
Oh, as he always says, there are two types of people in this world. The people who like him and the people who are undecided. That's Mike Schwartz.
I love that. All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, if you are new to the show and you are watching it on the YouTube, please hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you find out when shows are dropping. If you're listening to the show in podcast form, please leave a positive review in the whatever podcast outlet, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. And if you enjoy the show, if you get something out of it, if you like it, share it with your friends, because that is how we get the Stagecoach across America. All right, before we kick the show off, I want to thank superfan Susie W. from Las Vegas. She's letting us use her Stagecoach today, so thank you very much, Susie. Today we are in Salt Lake City at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, and I have with me Sam Lichtman.
Yeah, that works.
Let's go with it, right? There were 3 different ways to say your name, and I got all of them wrong.
That's fine. I do too.
So this is Sam the Gunman from the Gun Owners Radio segment, Stump My Nephew. Sam is the nephew. Sam, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure's mine, really. So we're here at Gun Rights Policy Conference. Schwartz, of course, is a good friend of the show. And he's like, hey, are you filming shows at JRPC? I said, I am. He's like, you want to do a show with Sam? I'm like, absolutely. So I'm glad we're able to make this happen. And we got to race back so we can make it for lunch. This is your first time at GRPC, isn't it?
Yes, it's my first time at GRPC. It's also my first time in Utah. Liking it so far.
Yeah, it is quite scenic out here. It's nice to see mountains. I've seen they have a Comic Con or a Fan X Con or something.
Fan X is going on right now.
Fan X, yeah. So it's a little bit of a freak show across the street, but
I don't know if I would use that exact verbiage, but I will say there are many people in costumes, relatively few of which I recognize.
This is how we know we're old, because I'm like, I don't know what they're supposed to be. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, don't put that on me yet.
You're still a young man. All right, so let's talk about you. How did you become Sam the Gunman? Because your claim to fame for Stump My Nephew is that you know all sorts of gun trivia. And what I love about the show is they'll ask you a question. They don't read the question to you beforehand, and you have to come up with an answer. And
the correct answer, ideally.
Right. Okay. The correct answer. And it's, to me, what I enjoy is hearing you work through this, and then you can hear in Michael's voice and the other folks' voice on the show that you can kind of hear in their voice when you nail it. Like you can kind of pick up on that.
That's what I've been told, that people really like listening to me work my way to it. If it's something I don't know right off the bat, trying to reason my way through to the answer by eliminating the other possibilities.
All right, so how did you become a gun guy? You grew up in Virginia?
I grew up in Virginia. I'll work backwards.
Okay.
The concept for the Sam the Gunman segment on Gun Owners Radio, which at the time was a radio show before it was a podcast, was, every mother is, or hopefully every mother is, doting on her child and impressed with her child. And so I was probably talking my mom's ear. This was years and years ago. This is when I was a teenager. I was talking my mom's ear off about, I don't know, the shape of the cam track in the operating rod of my dad's M1 or something like that. And I guess she was fed up with me doing that. So she called up my Uncle Michael and said, Sam really knows a lot about gun trivia. And he said, like, okay, yeah, whatever. And she said, no, really. And so he, I guess he grilled me a little bit, or I don't remember exactly
he gave
how
you a quiz?
Happened, but he figured out, okay, he does know a bit. And so he put together the segment on the show. and it ended up becoming really popular. I can't imagine why. I can't
Oh,
stand
stop.
hearing my own voice. When I go back and listen to this, I'll be cringing the whole time. But hello, future me, by the way. But
You know,
it,
I've
it
been
seems
people.
to be popular. People like the trivia segment, so I am to please.
It's fun. It's I like, you know, we always, I think since I started listening, there's only been 2 or 3 people that have stumped you.
Oh, it's been more than that, but I have a pretty good record.
Yeah.
So I said I would work backwards. That's how Sam the Gunman came about. But the gun trivia thing comes from my real job, or my quote unquote real job, as real as being a freelance writer and copy editor can be, which I contend it isn't really a real job, but it is what it is.
Right.
I mainly, when I'm not on the podcast and when I'm not writing blog posts for San Diego County gun owners, I research and write magazine articles.
Oh, wow.
Generally on military history, but really mainly on small arms, historic small arms, and the whole development process behind them, which I find really fascinating. I love combing through old history books. I like basically everything Bruce Canfield has ever touched. He's a great author. And I love going into museum vaults and spending a morning there, spending a day in there, doing some hands-on research with all these old guns. It's really enjoyable.
That's pretty wild. How does all this come about? Like, you have to have, what did you talk about, the cam something on the M1? Like,
so
these are, I don't even know what this is.
That it's the angled surface that unlocks the bolt.
Okay.
And locks the bolt when it's going forward.
Gotcha.
I became really interested in the history and particularly the mechanics of firearms sometime as a teenager. And like, okay, yeah, big surprise, a teenager thinks guns are cool, whatever. But my Uncle Michael did play an important role in that. When I was a kid, I don't know, maybe 8 years old, he took me to the NRA Museum in Fairfax, which is pretty local to me. I live in Northern Virginia. I have most of my life. And when I was a little older, maybe, I don't know, 12 or so, he gave me a copy of Chris Kyle's American Gun as a gift. And it's a fine book. It's not really a historical reference material. It's more pop history, but I remember enjoying reading it at the time as a preteen. And that got me interested in not the idea of a firearm as something that shoots a bullet and potentially injures or kills someone or an animal or something, but as a machine with all these internal mechanisms and as an integral part of history. There's this line from the old show Tales of the Gun, which, full disclosure, I've never watched. It was a little before my time, but the line is something like, "To understand the gun is to understand history," and I really like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, the more I've talked to people that are historians, like I've talked to Ashley Lubinsky and Phil Schreier, who to me are the 2 biggest firearm historians we've got.
Oh, they're great. I would love to meet either of them and pick their brains a little bit.
Yeah, they're like, hearing them talk about how the impact of, like, when Eli Whitney made the cotton gin, it was really integral on Sam Colt making guns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, really? You know, and when you hear that sort of stuff, you're like, that's pretty wild, you know?
And that gets to, I think, one of the sort of niche areas within firearm history that I find really interesting. And let me back up a little bit. One of the great things about the whole area of guns in general is you can never get tired. If maybe you're a shooter and you're a big handgun guy and you get tired of that, I'm going to get into skeet and trap, or I'm going to get into long range precision. Or if you're a researcher, if you're a historian, or in my case, something vaguely resembling a historian, you get tired of variations on the FNFAL, and you can study black powder muzzle loaders or early breech loader conversions, Allen conversions, things like that. So a couple of areas I find really interesting are, number one, arms produced under duress. So last-ditch late war Japanese stuff, improvised and craft-produced small arms, stuff produced by insurgents, things like that, but also designs that were held back by the technology of their time. And that there's the connection with Eli Whitney and the beginning of industrialization, making a lot of things like interchangeable parts really possible.
Right.
So I was working on a piece for Leatherneck a while ago. It was part of a series, but each entry was just a 2-page spread. And I was looking at the M1819 Hall rifle, which was an early breech loader. It was actually the first breech loading long arm the U.S. military ever adopted as standard.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't replace their muskets, but the U.S. military adopted it. They used it, the Army and the Marine Corps. And it was a really innovative design because it had this separate breech block. You could open it up and load that, then close it, and you could get off about 9 rounds per minute as opposed to maybe 2 or 3 with a contemporary musket. But it wasn't revolutionary. It became a footnote in history because the technology didn't exist to make a perfect seal between the front of the chamber and the rear and the breech end of the barrel. So that's a case of the technology of the time wasn't good enough for the design. Or like
that's wild.
The Lee Navy, the Winchester Lee, as people call it, the M1895. Really space-age rifle for the time, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Small caliber, relatively high velocity, straight pull bolt action. Used a high-quality nickel steel barrel, but not high enough quality. The rounds were so overbore and so high pressure that these guys were shooting out barrels in like 6,000 rounds.
Wow.
So another case of like 6mm 236 caliber. The next time the U.S. military used anything that small caliber was 1964 with the M16.
Gotcha. Do you have any military experience?
I don't. My plan growing up was to join the Air Force, but Plan A didn't work out for medical reasons that came up, unfortunately. So when people ask, "Oh man, how did you decide you wanted to become a freelance writer?" I didn't.
Didn't you say you had a degree in psychology?
No, I have a degree in international affairs from the University of Mary Washington.
Very cool. That's wild. How does that go into writing? Like, do you have a passion for writing, or just passing all this on this information?
Well, this gets to the discussion everyone has about college, university as an institution. I know one of the guys on Car Talk always complained about this. I know that's a bit of a dated reference.
Click and clack?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But all these degrees are useless. No one uses why does everyone need to learn how to do differential calculus or whatever?
Right.
So when people ask, "Oh, do you use your degree in international affairs?" You don't work for the State Department like all your peers. Mm-hmm. You don't work for an NGO. You don't work for some big multinational or for another entity within the federal government like everyone you went to school with.
Right.
Do you use your degree? And what I say is I don't use the information I learned in my degree because no one ever asks me to give them a full explanation on hegemonic transition theory and relate it to the Melian dialogue. But what I do use every day...
I don't even know what that means.
Well, good. It's not important. But what I do use is the skills I learned for my degree, which is research, analysis, putting together the full story of what happened using all these disparate sources and reading through all the various biases and limitations of all these sources based on what information each historian had available to him.
Yeah.
Putting together the full story and then writing about it, telling that story in terms people can understand.
Gotcha.
That's what I do.
I've heard a few people say that people don't really want to know what your degree in college is. I mean, obviously for some jobs it's, kind of specific and all that kind of thing.
Sure, engineering, biology.
Right, a nurse or a doctor or a teacher or something. But they don't want to know what you got a degree in. They just want to know that you went someplace for 4 years, made the commitment, got a degree, right? You learned how to do stuff. And I heard somebody say one time that, he owned a company, and he said if anyone came to him that applied for a job that was an Eagle Scout, he would hire him and then find a job for him.
that describes me also.
So, oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I really wanted my son to become an Eagle Scout, but it was not in the works. But it is what it is. We did get a chance to play with a bunch of knives when he was, 7 or 8 or something. Which was,
sure,
which
that's
was pretty
always
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
But
whittling soap into a turtle or something.
Part of the challenge with that whole endeavor, becoming an Eagle Scout, isn't just the commitment of the young man or I guess now young lady, to do it.
Yeah.
But also the ability of the family to stay in one place while he or she is doing it, because there's a lot of administrative stuff you have to do, and moving around ruins everything.
Oh,
so
sure.
I consider myself very fortunate in my upbringing. I had a pretty privileged childhood.
Oh, that's cool. All right, I got to tell you, I have no idea where we're at. And eventually we're going to take a left turn.
I see signs for West Valley, which is where Silencer Co. is headquartered.
Oh, very cool.
Are you allowed to have those in Massachusetts?
Are you kidding me? We can't have anything. Dude, we can't even have high cap mags.
Well, in Virginia, that it's, depending on how this election goes in November, I'm not optimistic about our chances come January when the legislature gets into session.
I did, a couple years ago, this is completely ridiculous, and this is the ridiculousness that is Charlie. I used to tell people, if I go someplace and someone asks for if they say, can I see your license? My answer would be my driver's license or gun license. And at one point I wanted to say, do you want to see my driver's license, my gun license, or my machine gun license? So in order for me to get a machine gun license, I had to get a Curio and Relic license and then become an official gun collector.
Curio and Relic, that's Type 3 FFL?
Yes.
And then you append a Class 1 to that, or a Class 2?
I did nothing because I don't have $30,000 for a rifle. so that was an easy decision. But
I don't have $30,000 for anything. That's 10 of my car. And that's being generous.
I'm with you. But my what did I do? I sat through this class that somebody local did on how to get an FFL. All right, how to get your Curio and Relic. But he talked about all the different licenses, and there's a group of guys in Massachusetts. One guy has essentially a shop where it has the most. I think it's something wild, like they have the most FFLs in a small contained area. Where this guy has a shop, office, storage space kind of area.
And this is in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, it is. And then what he did is he teaches these guys how to get their various FFLs so they can buy ammo and buy guns and sell guns and all that kind of stuff. And then he rents space for them. And they can operate out of they call it the mill, and they operate out of this area, make their own hours and do all that kind of stuff. So I sat through the class with him to get my 03, and after I got the 03, I went and applied for the Curio and Relic license. After I got that, I went and got a machine gun license. So, and I'm very bummed that only once in the 5 years I've had this, somebody's asked me to see your license, and I said, my driver's license, my gun license, or my machine gun license.
Oh, it's a great flex, though.
Yeah, totally. And one time somebody did this, and they're like, yeah, we'll take the machine gun license. I'm like, cool, here you go. So that was pretty fun.
Is it a photo ID?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
It is. They use the same photo that's on my regular license to carry. And it was
You have photos on your license to carry?
Oh, yeah, they don't trust us in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Okay.
So they, the lady called me up. We have a green band across the top for the machine gun license. So I answer the phone. I see it's the town. I answer the phone, and I say hello, and I hear her saying, I've never seen one of these before. And I'm like, can I help you? And she's like, oh, sorry, this is so-and-so from the police station. I've got your gun license here, but I've never seen one like this. I'm like, oh, the green band means it's a machine gun license. And she's like, well, you're the only one in town that has one. I'm like, nice, there we go. And then the officer that I did the interview with, he's like, well, now that you have a machine gun license, you need to get a machine gun. And I'm like, oh. I went home and I was like, how many gun classes, how many gun students do I have to have in order to come up with $11,000 for a cheap machine gun. And I haven't made it a priority. Let's put it that way. But it'd be kind of fun, kind of cool to have.
It would be, yeah, except for paying $11,000, and that, as you said, is for a cheap one. That's for a Rising or something like that.
Right.
It's all artificial scarcity. These guns are worth, I would imagine, literally their weight in silver, just because the registry's closed. So, yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense.
It is. So you worked in to make things more fun. You said you worked in a gun store for a while.
I did. I worked at a shop near me for about 3.5 years. First as a sales associate, then as a floor manager. It was pretty fun. It was, I think, probably less annoying than a typical retail job because it's a different cross section of the population who come into gun stores. But there were upsides and there were downsides. But overall, I liked it. I liked doing it.
That's cool. Well, Virginia's pretty much, well,
for now.
For now, it's free America.
Yes.
What do you have to do to get a Virginia permit?
Virginia has always been. It's funny, when the Bruin decision came down, no one was really paying attention to that in Virginia. Yeah. We kind of didn't care. I mean, I cared, but the average person didn't care because it didn't affect
really
us.
Them. Right.
Virginia has, for as long as I can remember, not for its entire history, of course, because concealed carry laws have changed everywhere, but for as long as I can remember, Virginia has been a shall-issue state, or I should say Commonwealth, I guess. The Commonwealth of Virginia has always been a shall-issue state. How about that? For as long as I can remember. And all you have to do is prove that you have some kind of training. In my case, it was actually a firearms and marksmanship class I took at community college. My instructor was a state trooper, a Virginia state trooper. So that was pretty cool. That is cool. Getting to shoot one of my dad's pistols for college credit. I'm not complaining about that.
That is cool.
And so I took in part of my transcript to the, I guess it was the county sheriff's office, along with my processing fee, which it's like $35 or $40, something, $42, something like that. Yeah. It depends on the county. Filled out a form, which you can get online. So I actually had filled mine out in advance. And I only needed to fill out one page of it because I hadn't changed address recently enough, and I don't have a criminal history. So I just turned in the form I had already filled out, the money I had brought with me, and the transcript I had brought with me as proof of training, and got my receipt, and they emailed me the hard copy permit, which looks like something that you would rip out of the little subscription card in a magazine. Oh, it's just a little paper thing that you have to laminate. They sent it to me in a couple weeks.
That's pretty wild.
It was straightforward. That's how it should be. I proved I was trained. I proved that I was a sane, trained, law-abiding citizen. I paid my processing fee, and I got my permit. That's how it should work.
It shouldn't be a problem. All right, hang on.
And in fact, I didn't have to, as I recall, I didn't have to prove affirmatively that I am sane, because it's the burden of the government to show that I have been involuntarily committed or otherwise deemed mentally unsuitable when they do the background check as part of the permitting process.
Yeah. It really would. It should be easier. It should be easier for people to get permits, and we're going through some stuff in Massachusetts.
I can imagine.
It's all nonsense. So we can't have suppressors. We can't have. There are some Kimbers we can't have. We can't.
Why not?
They're not out. We had this.
Because the quality control's not where it should be?
No. We have these approved firearms roster.
Oh.
And so we have an approved roster, and if a gun's not on the roster, then we can't buy it, but we can do frame transfers. So I can't buy a Gen 5 Glock, but I could buy a Gen 5 Glock frame.
And then a slide and upper assembly.
Yes, and I can buy a slide and a barrel, and assemble it together myself.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure all those hoops have saved a bunch of lives, haven't they?
It's so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
That's just another example of that quote. I forget who said it originally, but gun control isn't about the guns, it's about the control.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, like California's roster that LE doesn't have to abide by, and various things like that it's the point of that isn't to save lives. The point of that is two things. One, it's so that the lawmakers who pass those can take that then to their constituents and go, look, I'm helping. I'm doing something. Well, they're certainly doing something. And then the other reason is just to tweak us on the nose. To go like, ha ha, I'm picking on you. It's dumb.
It's the same thing. So I tell people in class, I said, so you can't buy a Gen 5 Glock, but your police officer friend can buy one, and then he can transfer it to you. And that's perfectly fine.
Supposedly it's safe for him, but it's not safe for you.
Right. And it's the same thing with high cap mags. If we can't have post 94 high cap mags.
Shouldn't it be the opposite? If off-roster guns are allegedly unsafe, then law enforcement officers shouldn't be allowed to have them?
Of course. And I tell people, I'm like, this is a new Gen 5 Glock is it's safe for police officer. Sorry, it's not safe for you and I, but it's safe for police officers. If you can figure that out, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
But they didn't ask us when they wrote the laws. This is something I always say when I'm having these types of discussions with people who really aren't familiar with the whole 2A situation.
Mm-hmm.
I have to explain to them and sort of beat into their heads, the people who write the gun laws don't understand guns.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It would be like if, and I mean no disrespect to the Amish or Mennonites or other people who live in a similar way, but it would be like if you had the entire, in my case, the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles run by the Amish, or the U.S. Department of Transportation run by the Amish. Why are people who don't drive cars regulating the cars?
Right.
They have no dog in this fight, and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I always tell people it's like if I wrote a book on what it's like to expect to have a child.
Sure, exactly,
right?
Exactly.
People that make gun laws have no idea about guns. Totally. So what are some favorite guns that you have?
Ooh, favorite would have to be my Chiappa Rhino. It's just such a fun
you said
gun.
this a few weeks ago.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, while I was working at the shop, the number of people who said, oh man, I used to have one of whatever they were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold it because I needed the money. I really shouldn't have sold that thing. Those outnumber the people who go, man, I'm glad I got rid of that whatever, by at least 10 to 1. So I promised myself as a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed young 19-year-old that first of all, life is too short not to buy a gun just because it's cool, just because you want it. And number two, that I would never get rid of a firearm that I actually liked. I'm not going to sell something unless either I know I can replace it for the same amount of money or less,
mm-hmm.
or it does the same thing something else I have already does.
Gotcha.
So I thought, you know what? The Rhino is interesting. I don't have a revolver yet. I want to see if the hype is real, and I have the money for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it. I have a Rhino 40DS in 357 Magnum, so it's the 4-inch double action, single action in 357 Magnum.
Yeah.
And the first time I took it to the range, I started shooting 38s through it, because you can do that with a 357. And by the time I finished the first cylinder, instead of reloading, I had to put the gun down on the table and step back behind the firing line because I was laughing so hard. I had to calm myself back down. It feels like a 22.
Really?
Yeah, it's a relatively lightweight revolver for its size. It's an aluminum alloy frame,
mm-hmm.
but it still has a 4-inch barrel, so it's not really snappy like some of those snub-nosed revolvers.
Right.
And of course, because it fires out of the bottom chamber in the cylinder, the recoil is going straight back into your wrist, pretty much. Very low bore axis. So firing 38s through it feels like a 22.
That's
350 full power 158 grain 357 Magnum gets your attention.
Mhm.
It has a walnut grip, so that's not really soaking anything up. It gets your attention, but it's very manageable.
Yeah, that's cool. I would love one. I think those look really cool. I think they look kind of badass. I'd like to get one.
They shoot really cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I got to come down to Virginia. and see
The
this.
hype is pretty. Yeah, the hype is absolutely real. I would imagine it's not as durable as something like a 686,
Mhm.
but I'm not putting it through a super aggressive firing schedule, and
Right.
I don't have to use it in a war. So I think it's neat. It's my favorite gun I own. I like
That's
it.
cool.
I like to shoot it.
That is way cool. That is way cool. What else? You work in the military. You write for. How many publications do you write for? You said you write for
I have
Leatherneck
I have
magazine?
written for several before, but right now at this very moment, I'm actively writing for Leatherneck magazine of the Marines. I'm and also SDCGO, but for Leatherneck, I'm their sort of. I bill myself as their science, technology, and small arms beat guy.
Mhm.
So, for those of you who don't know, the way a lot of the print media, or I should say written media industry works, so that includes news websites, stuff that isn't in physical form, but anything with words. The way it generally works is a publication will have its editorial staff and maybe a small handful of staff writers, but they'll farm out most of their work to freelancers. So that's what I do.
Very cool.
And for Leatherneck, I do things like I report on Modern Day Marine, which is a big trade show in Washington, D.C. It's an expo,
Mhm.
a military technology expo. I do small arms stuff. There's a series I have called This Is My Rifle, taking off of the Rifleman's Creed,
Nice.
where I talk about historic small arms the Marine Corps has used. And that's a pretty cool series, I think. But then again, I write the thing, so... And I've done some other stuff. I had my first article for them was about the history of the phonetic alphabet, which sounds boring enough to put you to sleep, but it was actually it's a lot cooler of a topic than you think.
Really?
It is, yeah. We're like 1950s. The International Civil Aviation Organization (ICAO) got some of the top linguists in the world together in a room to figure out what the best code words for each letter were, and put together these statistical charts of what could be misinterpreted as what other thing to make the exact optimal phonetic alphabet they could.
Gotcha.
And so that's why we still use the same thing.
That's cool. I've always wanted to try to commit that to memory, but I can't.
Oh, it's not difficult.
I know. I just don't put the time into it.
But so to answer your question, right now I'm actively writing for Leatherneck and for SDCGO, and I do copy editing for a publisher.
That's awesome.
Not firearm related.
Okay. We don't hold that against you. Very cool. What do you see yourself doing in the future? Staying where you're at? Keep doing what you're doing? You like what you do?
I don't mind what I do, but I can't do it for the rest of my life, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
I am a pilot. I'm licensed.
Really?
Yeah, and I want to fly for work, because when I'm behind the controls of an airplane is really the only time I feel completely focused.
Right, because
But I'm sure that's diagnosable as something, but
you can't really not be focused on that, right?
right. Well, you hope.
Right. Like you're not worried about, whatever, you had an argument with your wife or your girlfriend or both. You're focused on flying the plane.
Well, I guess it's like being on the range. You're focused on that one thing, and everything just sort of
Everything
melts
else
away.
melts. Yeah. That's
But
cool.
more so.
That's cool.
So I want to fly. As I think I said a little while ago, my plan was to fly for the military, but it's looking increasingly like I won't be able to do that just for medical reasons.
That's too bad.
Disabled enough that they won't let me in, not disabled enough that I'm actually disabled.
Right. I think that comes with the term close enough for government work, something like that.
Yeah.
Look, we can't work for us, but you can still work.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. All right, well, listen, we are getting back to where we need to be. Where can people find you and all the stuff that you write and everything that you're up to?
Well, being a freelancer, it's sort of scattered around a little bit, but if you read, if you're in San Diego County Gun Owners or one of the sister orgs, or if you read their blog, I write for that. I do some stuff for that, a variety of different things. As I said, I write for Leatherneck Magazine. That's a publication of the Marine Corps Association. You can find that at mca-marines.org/leatherneck. And anything else I put out in the future for whatever other client that like I don't have a personal website at this point, so I can't tell you that, but I can tell you what I'm doing actively right now and where that's gone up. I used to do some stuff for what is it? Langley Outdoor Academy.
Yeah.
Braden
Right,
Langley. I did some stuff for him a while ago.
Cool.
So some of that is on his Substack a couple years ago. But that lights the fire under my butt. I guess I should put together a personal website that says, here's everything I've done, here's where you can find it.
I'm going to say you should talk to Petrolino about that.
Yeah, Petrolino's good people.
He is good people.
But
sure.
Whenever I write something now, it's either going up on Facebook or LinkedIn, which is no way to live.
You're telling
Especially,
me.
I can't stand Facebook.
Yeah, crazy. All right, well, listen, Sam, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a pledge. We're going to put some links to San Diego County Gun Owners. We'll put a link to Leathernecks. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you can join them at saf.org. If you enjoyed the show, share it with your friends, because that is how we get the stagecoach across America. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you again.
And if I may, real quick.
Yeah.
Any of you out there, if you want, if you need someone to write, or especially fix what you've written or one of your freelancers has written, at doing copy editing for anything firearm related, history related, I'm your man. Drop a line.
There we are. I'll tell you this: Petrolino's a tyrant when he edits your stuff. Ask me how I know. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.
See ya.